Across the landscape of modern surgery, certain names stand out. Pioneers whose contributions have shaped the field for generations.
My name is Professor Sir Olugbenro Adekunle Benedictus Osinowo. I hail from Odogbolu in Odogbolu local government area of Ogun State. I was born on Thursday, March 29th, 1945, just before the end of the Second World War. I was born in Ibadan, and I grew up my infancy and childhood in Ibadan at Okebola, which I remember very vividly. My parents were His Grace, Most Special Apostle Abbas Adetola Osinowo. My mother was Mrs. Sophie Adedoyin Osinowo ní Adekogbe of Itafin Street in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. In my early years, I grew up at Okebola in Ibadan, where there was a high concentration of Ijebu people, especially from Odogbolu in Ogun State. I remember Pa Adelaja, I remember the Otudekos, and many others in that area. And my parents were very keen on education. And indeed, at the age of 4, I started my schooling at home. I had to be up by 6, and my father would give me tasks to do before he left for work. And my mother, being literate, also contributed her own quota, such that by 1950, January, I was barely 5 years plus. I was taken to school, but before I could get a school to attend, it was very difficult because in those days they tell you to put your hand across your head and touch the contralateral ear, which I couldn't do. So everywhere I went, they said, bring him back next year, bring him back next year. Until my mother remembered that she went to St. James's School, Ogunpa Ibadan, which was just down the road from where we live. She took me there, and as an ex-student, a very good one, because she used to take part in quizzes and programs and won laurels. So they were quite fond of her, and that was the school that took me in. And I started primary school there in January 1950, in class 1 then. By the time I reached standard 1, my father was relocated to More Plantation, Ibadan, so I would be closer to his workplace, which was the School of Agric. So we moved to More Plantation, which was a completely different environment. We shifted from cosmopolitan to agrarian and rural. The More Plantation was an idyllic place, second to none in Nigeria. And I switched over to another school nearby. After More Plantation, you had Apata. So I switched on to the Ibadan District Council School in Standard 1. I enjoyed the school because it was next to Government College Ibadan, and the many friends we had there were from the neighborhood, and we learned a lot from them. They mentored us, we visited often, we were encouraged to study hard so we'd be like them. People like the Onojis, of which there were many in the school at the particular time, Enahoro, who became Nigeria's cricket captain, and many others. But because I believe I'm right, my parents were in a hurry to produce a professor. So I started primary school 1 year before I should. And by the time I was in primary 5, they got me to do entrance exams. And I passed the entrance exam and the interview to Mayflower School, Ikene. I was not yet 10 then, I was about 9 years old. And January 26, 1956, I started secondary school at Mayflower School, Ikene, under Dr. Tai Sholari and the wife, Mrs. Sheila Sholari. Madam, as we called her, Mrs. Sholari, taught us English language and literature. And I think we owe everything we know in the English language and literature to her. But Dr. Tai Sholari was in a hurry to produce people with GCE level. So when we were in year 4 in the secondary school, instead of going on to 5, he said that was enough. We should do the GCE exam because we were not allowed to do the West African School starting from 4. So we couldn't do it in Nigeria. In January 1960, we were taken to Ghana, Accra, Ghana, by bus to go and sit for the GCE. But unfortunately, only 5 out of the 35 of us passed. And passed those days means you had pass marks in more than 3, and about 3 subjects, and you get a certificate. But I didn't pass any, so I didn't get any certificate. I had to, and as before the results came, my parents again, in their hurry to produce a professor, took me to A-level classes. And at the age of 15, I became an A-level student. And it was tough, difficult. I was being driven. And I remember in the evening when I'm studying, my mother would come and stand behind me and say, "Do you understand what you are reading?" I said, "Yes, I do." So when the result came for the GCE level and I did not pass, to an extent I was disappointed, but in another way, I was happy because I thought, well, now I will have time to really sit down and study instead of being rushed. So I went back to Mayflower in 1960. And in 1961, in Form 5, we took the West African School Certificate examinations in December of 1961. And I passed, and I was the only student in grade 1 at the time. So the effort paid some good dividends. And the following year, I was admitted to Ijebu-Ode Grammar School for my A-levels. And at Ijebu-Ode Grammar School, I enjoyed myself. I studied very hard. My 3 subjects were physics, chemistry, and zoology. And I was also in the Dramatic Society. I played Malvolio in Macbeth, and also Monsieur Harpagon. I played at one time, and so on and so forth. I was equally involved in sports. I was in the school's relay team. I took part in the Greer Cup competition at Liberty Stadium, Ibadan. It took place. I was in the team. The Ionian Games, and so on. Equally, I was house prefect of Johnson House. I was the secretary, that is the head of the Literary and Debating Society. And after leaving Ijebu-Ode Grammar School, I did my higher school certificate exams. I passed, I think it was chemistry and zoology, but did not make my physics. But in the GCE A-levels, I made physics. However, I could not get admission that year to UI, which was my preferred choice. I got admission to Ahmadu Bello University to study BSc Combined Biology and Chemistry, which I rejected. And I went back to school. I went to Federal Emergency School of Science in Lagos, FESS, where I did my A-level in June 1965. I was fortunate towards the end of 1965 to win a federal government overseas scholarship, which was given by the then Soviet Union to study medicine in the USSR. I spent some time there learning the Russian language and relearning physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics in the Russian language. But things were so good for me that we came in September, and by November ending, I was able to actually start my medical education in Russian language.
A distinguished surgeon, scholar, and leader whose impact transcends borders. From the halls of academia to the operating room, his career has been defined by excellence.
I studied at the first Moscow Medical University for a 6-year program, but since I was able to scale the first year, whilst I was even studying the language, I was able to finish in 5 years. And I finished in June 1971, graduated with a Doctor of Medicine degree, and I returned to Nigeria, in fact, the day after I finished my exams. And it was a very joyful reunion with my family at Udono, Ibadan. And also I got a job with the UCH Ibadan, University College Hospital, Ibadan, on Queen Elizabeth Road, where I was a house officer for 1 year. And perhaps before we continue, I need to say something about UCH. It was the first teaching hospital in Nigeria. It was the best then, even in Africa and beyond. I remember that kings and princes, even from Saudi Arabia, used to come to receive treatment at UCH Ibadan. And it was a grand place. That's the place that actually helped us to develop professionally. And I must also add that UCH Ibadan was where I met my wife, my future wife, who 54 years later is still with me. And that is then Miss Helen Okeofe Bose from Aginibode in Edo State of Nigeria.
On the 2nd of July, 1971, I was attending to a patient as a second-year student nurse when I heard somebody say, "Nurse, what language are you speaking?" And I looked towards my right. I saw this gentleman whom they popularly called psychedelic doctor. I said, "I'm speaking Uwano." And he said, "Uwano, which part of the world is that?" I said, "From Edo State." He said, "Okay, all right. I'm sure we'll meet again." And he left. Several days after, I kept seeing him around West 3 wing of UCH, where I was working. And he asked for where I came from. And I told him. And for 6 months, we were talking. And one day, he said, "I'm going to hold a party for you in December, between January and December 26th. I told my mom, I went to Ilorin and told my mom, I said, "There's somebody disturbing me." She said, You are maturing. It's okay. Just listen to him. And for 3 years of courtship, we were trying to understudy each other.
We got married in the courts. We had a court marriage in the registry at Ibadan here. And subsequently, she joined me in the UK in 1974. And I left in August. She came in November to join me in Glasgow. And she came back, did a NYSC service here in Ibadan here. And by that time we had already 3 kids. We then came back to Nigeria. In Nigeria we had Olufolarin in 1980 and Fadike in 1982, Oluwadari in 1987. So we had a total of 6 kids.
His home has been a place of warmth, guidance, and unwavering support, shaping the values of those closest to him. His dedication to family mirrors the same passion it brings to his profession, one built on love, integrity, and a commitment to excellence in all he does.
In UCH, after my house job, I decided to study surgery, and I was admitted into the surgical department of surgery in UCH, where I started my training as a surgeon. I finished university in 1971, finished my house job in 1972, and I spent 2 years after my house job in UCH, total of 3 years. And then I enrolled in the University of Ibadan for postgraduate studies, Master of Medicine, which was the specialist training. New then, we were the pioneers, kind of. But it didn't work out because they were not well organized. And so I decided, I was advised by my superiors to go and do my postgraduate in the UK. So in September 1974, I left Nigeria for the United Kingdom to Glasgow University to do my preliminary surgical studies.
As a renowned surgeon, Dr. Osinowo has presented groundbreaking research at some of the world's most prestigious conferences. His expertise has been recognized at the West African College of Surgeons, the Society of Thoracic Surgeons, and global gatherings in London, Toronto, and beyond. These contributions have advanced surgical techniques and improved patient outcomes, solidifying his reputation as a thought leader in the field. But his influence extends far beyond research. Dr. Osinowo is an educator at heart, committed to training the next generation of medical professionals. Through his years of academic service, he has held key positions including Head of Surgery, Dean of Clinical Sciences, and Editor-in-Chief of the Annals of Applied Sciences. Each role has allowed him to shape medical education, mentor young doctors, and drive innovation within the surgical community. His wealth of knowledge is also evident in his numerous publications spanning textbooks, medical journals, and groundbreaking research papers that continue to inform and inspire both students and seasoned professionals alike. His dedication to academic excellence has not only enriched medical literature, but has also set a high standard for research and scholarship in Nigeria and internationally. Beyond the operating room and lecture halls, Dr. Osinowo's leadership has influenced policy and practice. His work has shaped hospital administration, improved surgical procedures, and contributed to the overall growth of medical science in Nigeria. He is not just a surgeon, he is a mentor, a role model, and a beacon of inspiration for those who aspire to make a difference in the world of medicine.
I finished my preliminary studies in surgery at Glasgow University in Scotland, and I got a job with Myers Hospital in East Kilbride, Scotland, where I worked. And subsequently, later in the year, I went to University of Edinburgh, also in Scotland, to do my clinical studies, whilst I was still working at the same Myers Hospital in East Kilbride, Scotland. And I passed my final fellowship exam in November 1976. And subsequently, I left Myers Hospital and moved to Glasgow Royal Infirmary, where I studied cardiac surgery. And from there, I moved to Siam Hall Hospital in Cottingham, near Newcastle. And after spending a year there, I got a job as a senior registrar in cardiothoracic surgery at the Heath, that is the University Hospital of Wales in Cardiff. I was posted to Landoch Hospital as senior registrar, where I worked, and subsequently in 1977, I resigned from the hospital to return to Nigeria as a senior registrar. I returned to the UCH in about July 1977, and I became a senior registrar at UCH in the Department of Surgery, and I became a professor in the University of Ibadan in 1989. And subsequently, I got a job with World Health Organization, and from there, I was posted to the Gambia, Banjul, the capital, at Royal Victoria Infirmary, where I worked for 18 months. But I must say, I was not really impressed with WHO, because different countries were giving quotas, and some would send brilliant people, some would send their worst, and I thought I couldn't work with such people. So by that time, I had gotten a job as a consultant cardiovascular and thoracic surgeon in Bisha, in the southern part of Saudi Arabia. I started the job, and from there, the terrain was rather slippery and difficult because of the religious beliefs, which were different, and also we were not really treated well. We were treated as if we were hired hands. But anyway, we endured it because the money was good. And after 1 year in Bisha, I moved to Al-Baha. Al-Baha is up in the mountains, about 27,000 or 9,000 meters above sea level. It was cold. Sometimes snow fell, hail fell, and it wasn't as hot as the rest of Saudi Arabia because of the elevation. It was a good place, Prince Abdullah Hospital, Saudi Arabia. I worked there for about 6 years before I moved on to Asir Central Hospital also in Saudi Arabia. And at Asir Central Hospital, I was a consultant. I was appointed as an associate professor, and I worked there also for 6 years in Asir region before I left for the UK to join my family in 2006. Whilst I was in Saudi Arabia in 2000, I lost my mom. I came home for the bare funeral. And in 2005, while still in Saudi Arabia, I also lost my dad. And I came back to UK to stay with the family. in 2008. I came to Nigeria in 2007, and 2008, January 8, I went to Bayelsa, to the Niger Delta University, where I got a job as a professor of surgery. I've been in Bayelsa Medical University up to this moment. I was in Bayelsa in 2008, January, and I'm still there up to now. So with me hitting 80 years, I have to now think of when I'm going to come back home. Everybody asks me, when are you coming home? I'm coming home soon. I don't know when yet, but by God's grace, it shall be soon. And there has been, for this birthday in particular, an outpouring of felicitations and greetings from friends and family, acquaintances, workmates. And I thank everybody who has sent in greetings to me about this birthday, for those who have contributed in no mean measure, materially, physically, socially, culturally, to the success of this birthday. I say thank you very much. God bless you, and may you also prosper, and may God grant you longevity in good health, and may you age with grace in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen.
As we honor his remarkable journey, we celebrate not just his achievement, but the legacy he continues to build, a legacy of excellence, dedication, and an unwavering commitment to the advancement of surgical practice, medical education, and family values.